In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about eyebrows and ear wiggling, swooning over the chimney sweep, and responsibility versus being responsible in our discussion of Curtsies and Conspiracies by Gail Carriger. Quality.
Yes. We only produce the podcast of quality.
Hey everybody. Welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult books, series, authors, and voice actors that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire. And today we are going to discuss Curtsies and Conspiracies by Gail Carriger. She's a lady of quality.
He said courtesies.
Did I? Stupid French accent. Damn you, French! I'll just say it normally.
I think it's fine if we just continue on. Just leave it.
We'll do it normally for the audio that need it normal. And I'm Claire, and today we're going to discuss Curtsies and Conspiracies by Gail Carriger. And I laughed all the way through that one.
It's fine. I'm leaving both of them. Standard disclaimer.
Bollocks.
If you haven't read this book, please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't read or listened and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read or listen to the book. Then come back. If you haven't done this but want to pretend that you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much that you don't care about any of that, then listen up.
Please remember, Fictional Hangover, it is all about quality.
Quality.
Right, I'm going to stop now.
No, you're
For now. For about 5 seconds.
For this current minute.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you have any quality background information?
I do. From Miss Gail's website again, because like I said last time, it's the best website ever.
There's a plethora of information.
There is. She has an FAQ page, and one of the frequently asked questions is, what inspires this kind of writing? And then there's a quote, and I chose this bit of information because this quote is from book 2. It is from this book. Oh my goodness! Is that an electro-split goop slammer pod? I do believe it is. And is that a thrush-bottom peep-monger Swisser sprocket? Oh, 2 Swisser sprockets! Viev was practically squeaking in excitement. Thank you. The 2 Swisser sprockets! So, that was the quote that she was provided. What makes you write this kind of thing? And she says, you picked up on an inner sci-fi fan moment of mine. I love Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I remember seeing an interview where the actors complained about having to memorize and spout technobabble. This kind of writing is my ode to technobabble, only I intend mine to sound quintessentially Victorian.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yay.
Oh, yeah.
I love Viev.
She's delightful.
I don't think I have any initial thoughts on this one.
I think
Because
we're probably just given them. Viev is delightful.
I know, and we just love this series so much.
Please see all previous comments regarding
Yes,
Miss
anything
Gail.
Gail Carriger.
But make sure that when you listen to it again, you put it in a terrible French accent.
Oh, of course. Terrible. A terrible French accent. I don't know what that was. It was terrible for sure.
That was
100%.
replicating exactly what I did at the top. And that's staying in. Let's just go to the summary.
Please do. Let's just skip everything. Lady Lynette interrupts a lesson with Sister Maddie, shocking in itself, to collect Sophronia and Dimity. Oh no. As Sophronia passes her classmates, they give her knowing looks. Even Agatha wishes them good luck. What could possibly be in store for them? In silence, Lady Lynette escorts the girls to the far recesses of Mademoiselle Geraldine's finishing academy for young ladies of quality, to a room marked Assessment Chamber 1. Enter at risk. It's time for their 6-month review.
Ba, ba, ba. Inside the chamber is a huge mechanical machine Sophronia remembers being referred to as an odd-job
It's an odd-job.
machine, which presents...
It's an odd-job machine.
That's so French. Odd-job. Have you got to say it? Odd-job.
Well, you have to be Viev whenever you talk about the
So
odd-job.
you've got to go refer to as an odd-job machine.
Odd-job.
Okay. Inside the chamber is a huge mechanical machine Sophronia remembers being referred to as an odd-job machine.
Fuck you.
Which presents the assessment tasks. First of all, an oil painting drops down and after a moment is jerked away. Then a tea service is presented with cold tea and comestibles. After a quick deliberation, Sophronia serves as etiquette would demand. She doesn't partake, however, due to the suspicious smell of lavender in the cups and the discoloration on the cakes. Then the odd-job presents hair ribbons, followed by a tray with various objects. Once these are taken away, a slate is presented saying, "Send help immediately," plus some parchment, ink and sweets. A meal is then delivered just as Sophronia's stomach protests. But is this part of the test? While Sophronia waits for Lady Lynette to return, she examines the odd-job and spots a crystalline valve propped inside. Very similar to the prototype from her adventures shortly after being accepted to the school. Quickly, Sophronia pockets the valve, intending to give it to her young, exceedingly French engineering friend, Viev.
French.
French. She's hardly French, she's French.
She's French.
Viev. She's a little rascal.
Lady Lynette enters. She's
Dum,
just
dum, dum.
finished administering Dimity's assessment. As she gets a printout from the odd job, it explodes. Oh, man. Lady Lynette fires questions to Sophronia about her choices during the assessment and seems very pleased. Sophronia will receive her results at the same time as everyone else. However, initial assessment is promising. Whew. Sophronia loves it at Mademoiselle Geraldine's finishing academy for young ladies of quality and would hate to be sent home. Dimity, however, is being very dramatic, but is hopeful she won't fail as she seems to have made similar decisions as Sophronia. Assessment over, Dimity has something to share with Sophronia and their friends Sidhay, Lady Kingair, and Agatha. Lord Dingleproops has sent a missive. He wants to meet in private and alone. This is shocking.
Oh my gosh.
Dimity dismisses everyone's concerns, though Sidhay points out that if Lord Dingleproops is flying up to the school, that's not nothing. Dimity insists it must be important, or maybe even a declaration. Sophronia, with her critical eye, wants to know why Lord Dingleproops would use his father's stationery. As Dimity intends to go, Sophronia intends to follow.
Professor LeFou delivers the results of the assessment. Monique's a first. It is the school's recommendation that she marry with no second attempt at finishing. Wow.
Yeesh.
Monique threatens to tell her special friend, air quotes, and have her father withhold his donation from the school. Pressure is adept but relies on looks. Agatha receives poor marks and is put on a 6-month probation, as is Sidhay, even though she demonstrates excellent use of weapons. Dimity receives fair marks with the suggestion that she must build her character. And Sophronia, well, she receives the highest marks in a 6-month review. Ever. Yeah. Professor LeFou remarks that the biggest concern is what Sophronia is getting up to outside of the lessons. They suspect she is spying on them. Yes, that would be right.
It's true. You're right.
At the release of their review results, her fellow students become openly hostile, talking about Sophronia not to her. Even Dimity, her best friend, turns away from her.
Oh, that's not a good feeling.
That's harsh.
Despite her friend snubbing her, Sophronia still follows Dimity to her assignation with Lord Dingleproops. Sophronia has a hurley, a small grappling rope knotted at stages for climbing, to help her traverse the outside of the dirigible. It's all quiet until an air dinghy arrives. But instead of Lord Dingleproops, there are 2 men on board, and neither are wearing the Pistons' signature top hats. Sophronia acts quickly by throwing a bread roll from her pocket at them, hitting one man. Then she fires her hurley at a dinghy balloon and rips a hole in it. One of the men fires a pistol. Then Sophronia manages to use her hurley again on the other balloon, and the dinghy is forced to float down. Dimity, at first confused at what's going on, figures out that Sophronia is there and accuses her of ruining everything. But who were those men? And what did they want with Dimity? Shrug.
Sophronia finds refuge in the boiler room where her assessment marks mean nothing. She is teaching Soap to read, which is enough for him, but he doesn't want to become her next project. Sophronia takes exception to this before realising that Soap is likely right. While they are chatting, they flirt. Even Viev popping in doesn't stop them. After Viev has an exchange with an unknown sooty, Soap tells them that they've taken on double numbers and some are dubious types. There is a long trip being planned, so they need to take on extra numbers and extra supplies, and are currently heading to Swiffle on X. In other boiling room news, the sooties have adopted a kitten. Yeah. Sophronia gives the pilfered valve from the odd job to Viev, who was curious as to why an odd job would need a valve, as they don't require wireless communication. But she's pleased at the gift and the prospect of future testing.
At breakfast the next morning, Mademoiselle Geraldine announces the stopover at Swiffle on X, which Sophronia's friends realize she already knew about. At Swiffle on X the following day, Sophronia watches in fascination how the dirigible takes on extra water. And then she spots the sooties frolicking in the river. Naked! No!
Shocking, but we're looking.
I know. She wishes that she could spot Soap amongst them, but she can't. Shucks. The day after, again at breakfast, Mademoiselle Geraldine announces that they will be taking a trip to London and will be joined by boys from Bunsen and Lacroix's Boys Polytechnique. Amongst the Bunsen boys is Pillover, Dimity's brother, Lord Dingleproops, and the dark-haired piston boy Sophronia spurned during their dance together at her sister's coming-out ball. The reason for the trip is to witness Henri Giffard's first transcontinental dirigible flight from Paris to London, which will only take an hour using ether currents and new valve technology. Breakthroughs! Scientific breakthroughs!
Viev stops by the debut's room before lessons. She's very excited by the trip. Imagine transcontinental dirigible flight through the ether! Amazing!
It's amazing! Science!
Viev also heard that one of the teachers is required in London, but doesn't know who. As they talk, Bumper Snoot starts shuffling about, gathering his reticule disguise. He wants to come with Sophronia to lessons. Aww. First up is Faking It with Fangs with Lady Lynette. During the lesson, the girls are paired with the visiting Bunsen boys to roleplay interacting with a hive member. During the second pairing, Sophronia is partnered with Felix Mersey, heir to the Goulburn dukedom, the brooding boy she spurned. He calls her Rhea against her wishes and is infuriating and an audacious flirt. Meanwhile, Dimity is partnered with Lord Dingleproops, and their conversation gets rather heated as she waves his missive and he looks completely perplexed. He clearly did not send her that assignation request.
But who did? Was it? Oh, shrug.
Qualité shrug.
Unlike Equalite shrug. Do you think that's one of the lessons?
Yeah.
How to shrug?
You get lessons in eyelash fluttering and how to perfectly arch their eyebrow in a quizzical manner. I'm conveying you a secret message. What is it?
I don't know. I haven't taken that lesson yet. Unlike his sister, Pilliver is talking to Sophronia. He has no idea why he was selected to come on this journey because he is by no means a top student, and he's also not really sure that having a sister aboard is a driving factor. Sophronia confesses that she thinks someone is after Dimity. Pilliver agrees that the missive she received was most definitely not from Lord Dingleproops. Sophronia isn't sure who could be after Dimity and asks if Pilliver has had any odd encounters, but he hasn't. Conversation turns to Felix, and Sophronia learns that he is from a historically anti-progressive family who has fought the integration of the supernaturals into society. Viev pops by their table then and tells Sophronia that Soap sent her to tell her there is something happening in the boiler room tonight that they will both want to see. Viev offers to come by later with the obstructor, and Pilliver suggests she take company and gives a pointed look toward Felix. Sophronia catches on and asks Pilliver to extend an invitation.
Pointed look with eyebrow. After a very tiring lesson on the ground with Captain Nile on the importance of running away where everyone suffers several gooseberry jelly deaths, Sid here hangs back to speak to the werewolf. Sophronia, who was pushed to the back of the boarding line intentionally by the other girls, also dawdles. Sid here has a matter of pack to discuss. She believes the pack is angry and that her grandfather is losing control. Captain Nile says the upcoming ether dirigible flight is worrying all the supernaturals. As they ascend to the ship together, Sid here admits to Sophronia that the werewolves think the vampires are trying to master ether travel for themselves, and that Giffard is likely funded by the vampires. It seems there will be a contest for control.
Oh, no.
Could have seen that one coming.
That night, as Sophronia and Viev are sneaking past the teachers' rooms, the alarms sound, causing them to quickly hide behind a statue as the teachers come out to investigate. Only Professor Braithwaite is dressed, it being nighttime and he being a vampire, so he volunteers to go and sort out the problem, which is no doubt a Bunsen's boy sneaking about. Perhaps Felix trying to follow Sophronia. No Geraldine girl would have been caught, says Lady Lynette, who pointedly looks toward the statue.
They know everything.
Wish I could raise my other eyebrow. This whole episode is just going to be me trying to raise the other one. I can't do that.
I would have
so
advanced lessons in message communication through ear wiggling.
You can wiggle your ears too?
Yes, I can wiggle them independently as well. Which apparently is a very good skill, like a rare skill. That's my weird thing I can do.
I can't do anything.
Oh, I thought everybody could, but apparently no. I thought everybody could when I was little, but anyway,
No.
that was definitely a visual medium.
It was. Everyone make sure you join our bonus here so you can watch Claire wiggle her ear for a few seconds. Worth it.
It was quality.
Worth it. It was quality ear wiggling.
Anywho, Sophronia and Viev continue onto the boiler room, which is abuzz with activity. The steam machine is being brought out, and Soap tells them they are going to white. The machine is complicated, which delights Viev, and the fact that it can create their own cloud to hide in it delights Sophronia. It has the added bonus of helping keep Dimity safe from attack if they can't be found. Before Sophronia leaves the boiler room, Soap is being extra flirty with her. Perhaps he is jealous of this Felix toff. It seems that Soap is about to lean in and kiss her, but he changes to the small, exposed skin above her glove, and we all swoon.
All of us. Oh, Soap.
Sophronia doesn't think of Soap like that. Does she?
Yes, she
The
does.
friends!
Yes.
The friends! So she takes the overture in jest.
Nope. Mm-mm. On the way back to her room, Sophronia asks if they can swing by Professor LeFou's classroom. From the balcony, they see Professors LeFou and Shrimpdiddle from Bunsen's bent over a disassembled apparatus, arguing, when Monique comes in, demanding an update. Professor LeFou accuses Monique of setting off the alarms, which she scoffs at, telling the teachers it was a Bunsen's boy, and Professor Braithwaite is dealing with him. This angers Professor Shrimpdiddle, who does not trust vampires and wants to know who is feeding him. That is inappropriate, sir.
But a very good question.
But you do not ask that question.
A lady of quality does not ask such things.
No.
Do you ask what is in a lady's larder? No.
No.
Scandalous. At breakfast the next day, Monique squeals, drawing all the attention to her. She will be having her coming out ball when they reach London. She is now even more the centre of attention and even more insufferable. Yeah. Dimity looks desperate to talk to Sophronia about it, but she is still shunning her.
Oh, come on.
Later in class, Monique is cruel to Dimity, which Sophronia refuses to let pass. This causes Dimity to step forward and declare to Professor Braithwaite that she would rather be loyal than right and won't participate in shunning any more. Outside, Sidney and Agatha are also happy to ignore Lady Lynette's instruction to ostracise the girl with the highest marks. Friends again! Yes!
Yay!
Sophronia can now tell Dimity that she is sure someone is out to kidnap her. Oh.
Oh.
So not the ball then at all.
No. Later, Sophronia and Dimity encourage Agatha to infiltrate Monique's ranks to find out what she could be up to. Though Agatha is nervous, the poor thing, she is willing if it will help her stay at the school. Unfortunately, Agatha's reports are not at all interesting. Monique talks about nothing other than her ball, until one night Agatha catches her sneaking out. Sophronia needs speed in order to catch up with Monique, so she borrows boys' clothes from Sidney and follows Monique to Professor Braithwaite's room. From the balcony, Sophronia listens to their exchange. She learns that this will be their last meal together, and that Professor Braithwaite is the teacher needed in London to perform a test with Giffard. When Monique leaves, Sophronia isn't quite quick enough to hide properly and is spotted by Professor Braithwaite, who gives her a wink. Oh.
The next day, the dirigible lowers for a layover and resupply, meaning the students are permitted to have lessons and a picnic outside. Sophronia and Dimity are sitting apart from the main group when Bumbersnoot lets out a whistle as 3 ruffians try to take Dimity and mention they also need pillover. Sophronia fires her hurley at one and Bumbersnoot burns another. Dimity then faints at the sight of the blood, and Sophronia screams for aid. Felix comes running and produces an evil-looking gadget. It's actually an automated boot-shining prong, but that's a technicality. It scares them off, that's the main thing.
It does. Later, in the boiler rooms, Dimity makes a surprise appearance, led by Viev, who she blackmailed with a hat. Dimity is here to perform charitable works and has brought pamphlets. The cities are well aware of who Dimity is already. They call her their angel of pudding mercy. As the cities teach Dimity some fighting moves, Viev tells Sophronia she hasn't made any headway with the valve. Then the boiler room alarms go off and Felix climbs in. Viev is also responsible for his intrusion. She told him how and where to climb to meet them, and in exchange, he will petition for Viev to be admitted to Bunsen's. Apparently, he is not aware that Viev is female. As Professor Shrimpdiddle will know that Viev is a girl, the scamp asks for Sophronia's help to discredit him. If she does, and Viev is able to attend the boys' evil genius school, she will give all her gadgets to Sophronia.
Drool, drool,
I
drool.
know. Ooh. Ooh.
At 3 a.m. one night, Viev calls on Sophronia and asks if she would like to see the special shipment they took abroad. Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Together they go to the I can never say this word. Why did I put it in? I
said
put it in.
carnivorous.
I can never say it. Cavernous, yes. I'm terrible at seeing these words and instantly go to carnivorous every time. Look, it's a carnivorous room. Chomp, 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 chomp. Anyway.
Well, I mean, it almost eats her. That couch is
true.
pretty evil.
That is true. Together they go to the carnivorous. Just done it again. Together they go to the cavernous storage room near the propeller, where there is a small shed. Professor Braithwaite and Sister Mattie are just coming out, talking about a delayed shipment and repeated messages about technology. Professor Braithwaite senses the girls and Viev steps out to take the fall. As Professor Braithwaite is grabbing her ear, Viev puts on a ridiculous showing of squirming in order to pinch the shed key and leave it for Sophronia. Inside the shed is a ladies' sitting room with an enormous number of embroidered cushions. As Sophronia realises the embroidery is a code and she needs a cipher in order to understand the messages, a chaise longue comes to life and charges. Of course it does.
Because
this is Mademoiselle Geraldine's finishing school for ladies of quality. Of course a chaise longue's going to come live. Of course.
Of course.
With the help of the obstructor, Sophronia is able to escape. Beware all chaise longues.
She's able to escape the carnivorous shed.
In the cavernous storage.
The next morning, the school leaves Dartmoor. On the squeak deck, Sister Mattie is holding class when Viev interrupts on powered skates and crashes into the teacher. These are her sputter skates, and she is using them to secretly test the valve. They obviously do not work properly, but Viev works out that the valve is meant to transmit protocols. Sophronia can feel a terrible headache coming on. Wink. So at lunch, she stays in her room where Viev joins her. They discuss their ladies' agreement about Viev's academic plans and the school's patron, but their chat is interrupted by the other girls returning to their suite. Then the perimeter alarm sounds. All the girls stay in their room, unable to hear anything that would have caused it.
The ladies have tea and subterfuge with Mademoiselle Geraldine next, and some of the Bunsen boys will join. They also have a guest, a fortune teller named Madame Spatoona. Pressure goes first, and the fortune teller tells the little spider that she will marry more than once, which is definitely Pressure's dream. Next is Dimity, who wants a simple life but won't get it. Then Monique, who will never be as important as she thinks she is.
That's such a cutting
I
remark,
love it.
and that's all she said. It was perfect.
Agatha is told her fortune in private. Sid here knows her fate, and Sophronia thinks only in terms of the game and is advised to give her heart wisely. She is also told she will end the world as they know it. Wow.
Whoa.
During her reading, Sophronia slips a note to Madame Spatoona, offering 3 shillings to sow discord with Professor Shrimpdiddle. The boys go next and end with Professor Shrimpdiddle, who was told the Bunsen's headmaster doesn't value his contributions and that this trip is to keep him from becoming important. Yikes. Discussing the fortune teller later, Sophronia says she's got to be a Geraldine's girl. Amongst her many scarves, she noticed the fortune teller was wearing an onion-shaped brooch. She must have come aboard in secret while they were floating. She's the one who set off the perimeter alarm.
Oh.
Intrigue. Conspiracies, you might say.
Oh. And 1 or 2 curtsies?
Mayhap a curtsy or 2.
The next day, there is a postal delivery. The 6-month reviews were sent out to the parents, and now most have replied. Sophronia doesn't receive a letter, but instead finds 2 packages for her containing a gorgeous new day dress and a transformation dress. Later, while putting them away, Sophronia and Dimity mention a couple of letters Monique secreted away and are curious about their contents. Dimity also mentions that Pilliver heard from their parents. Their mother is stuck working on etheric communication, and their father is working on mechanical protocols. Though Dimity is nonplussed, Sophronia is excited because this is relevant. They are the ones who invented the valves, and that's why someone wants to kidnap Dimity.
Doink!
Oh,
after all of that.
oh,
Goes all the way back to chapter 3 of book 1.
oh. That's good writing.
It is.
That's
good
good
excellent
writing right
writing. At supper, Pillover agrees to help Viev infiltrate Bunsen's because it would be evil to do so and probably get him top marks if he were ever found out. Monique comes into the dining room and is nice to Dimity and even compliments her before asking her and Pillover to her ball.
What?
Dimity will only accept if Sophronia, Sidhe and Agatha may come. Monique obviously doesn't want any of them to attend, but agrees. So what is she up to?
Something, clearly.
Yes. At the teacher's table, Professor Shrimpdiddle obsessively glares at Professor Braithwaite, who is sitting next to Madame Spatoona. Sophronia uses this as an opportunity to sow further discord about Professor Shrimpdiddle and asks around the table if he can be trusted. Whose politics does he really back?
Late at night, Sophronia sneaks into Professor Shrimpdiddle's room with the help of the obstructor. Carefully, she places 2 dots of beet and walnut dye on his neck to simulate vampire fang marks. But on her way out, she runs into Madame Spatoona. As a bribe to keep her mouth shut, Madame Spatoona demands to borrow Bumbersnoot for 3 weeks. She plans to use the status the mechanical would confer as she infiltrates the Pickleman. She also tells Sophronia that the Flywomen are assembling a float gather, the first in 50 years, and are formally aligning with the Pickleman. The next day, Sophronia seeks out Viev to have an explosive installed in Bumbersnoot that will go off if he is not returned within the agreed-upon 3 weeks. At breakfast, Professor Shrimpdiddle looks red-eyed and panicky and is wearing his cravat very noticeably high.
A few days later, Mademoiselle Geraldine's finishing academy for young ladies of qualité arrives in London and anchors at the Crystal Palace, where the dirigible is hidden under a canvas banner advertising "Builders and Safety Inspectors" and mock scaffolding. Mademoiselle Geraldine announces that everyone is restricted to the ship. At dinner, sitting next to Professor Braithwaite, is the Potentate, the Queen's vampire representative on her shadow council. After, Sophronia hangs back and hears the Potentate say to Professor Braithwaite, "For blood, Queen, and country, you are to be commended."
Oh. Unlike the dirigible, which houses Mademoiselle Geraldine's finishing academy for young ladies of quality, Giffard's ether ship is elegant and floats into London to the excited cheers of the crowd, which includes Geraldine's girls. Night classes have been cancelled as the school dirigible is needed for a test by the government, so everyone needs to be off the ship. There will be a counting to ensure everyone has disembarked.
That's not going to stop Sophronia.
No, it's not.
God,
No,
she
it's
comes
not.
a sting on board.
No, she can't. She's got to be there.
Counting. She thinks they will be testing vampire tethers, the distance which a vampire can travel from their home, and she finds it very interesting. Before she sneaks off with the help of a distraction courtesy of Dimity, Sophronia orders the Plumley Tamot siblings to stay with Captain Niall and Sidhe because the werewolves are the only ones not after them. On the squeak deck, Professor Braithwaite climbs into a contraption similar to a diving suit and runs over to Giffard's ship. Together, both ships rise above the clouds until the school dirigible stops, but Giffard's ship keeps going. On Giffard's ship, Professor Braithwaite starts flailing around before going over the side of the ship. Sophronia would never be certain if he jumped or fell.
Oh. The school does not follow the falling professor, and in a panic, Sophronia climbs down into the boiler room. Soap points her to the person in charge, but her entreaties to lower the ship are ignored until orders come down from the pilot's bubble. After a moment they do, and an emergency descent is ordered, requiring them to collapse the middle balloon, which is never done. Ever. Through the hatch, Sophronia can see London coming closer and closer at high speed, and a crowd surrounding the fallen body of Professor Braithwaite.
Professor Braithwaite looks monstrous and needs blood, so Monique is told to do her duty and feed him. But her sycophants and cronies shuffle away from her. Lord Ambrose of the Westminster Hive steps forward to look after Monique when they're able to pull her off from the Professor's fangs, and then Professor LeFou steps forward to feed her colleague.
Whoa.
Sophronia uses the opportunity to whisper in Professor LeFou's ear that she saw Professor Shrimpdiddle in her classroom with the ether suit the night before. Professor LeFou inspects the ether suit and finds it has been tampered with, so she formally accuses Professor Shrimpdiddle of sabotage. The Juan, the werewolf member of the Queen's Shadow Council, and Lord Wolseley, Werewolf Alpha, take Professor Shrimpdiddle into custody. Amongst his ramblings and protests, the Professor, rather shockingly and in bad form, confesses to tampering with the suit.
Oh, man. It's terrible. Monique's coming out ball is that night, and those attending must dress and get going. Everyone is excited, except Sophronia, who can't stop thinking about Professor Braithwaite and her part in the situation. Viev, who came to pass comment on outfits and accessories, tells Sophronia that she may have arranged matters, but the actions of others aren't her fault. Viev also informs her that it seems the tampering wasn't what drove the professor mad. That happened as soon as they entered the aetherosphere. The suit offered him no protection from the ether, but was it that, or the snapping of his tether, or the fall that caused him to lose his mind?
At the ball, Felix flirts mercilessly with Sophronia, and she gives as good as she gets. But to her, it's all a tiring game, and her mind drifts to Soap, who doesn't play these games with her. During their first dance, Felix admits to trying to court Sophronia, but his pleas are interrupted when Sophronia notices Dimity, Pillover, and Lord Ambrose are missing.
Damn it.
Cutting Felix off during their dance for a second time, Sophronia heads outside to see Dimity's skirts being pushed into a carriage.
Without overthinking, Sophronia leaps onto the back of the carriage and holds on until they reach the Westminster Hive House. Sophronia can't hope to rescue Dimity and Pillover by herself and decides she needs reinforcements. Standing in the street at a bit of a loss, a fly stops in front of her, and a foppish dandy vampire offers her a lift, knowing she's one of Geraldine's girls, and Sophronia accepts without introducing herself. The dandy vampire doesn't reveal his identity either, and he declares he is not important and says he prefers to watch the goings-on around him instead of getting involved.
Back at Monique's ball, Sophronia spots Lady Lynette with the potentate. As she quickly makes her way over, Felix tries to intercede, but she tells him to tag along. Sophronia informs them of Dimity and Pillover's kidnapping by the Westminster Hive, but it's met with disbelief and dismissal. Lord Ambrose has also returned to the ball, and the potentate calls him over to answer the egregious charge. Lord Ambrose turns the target toward the Pickleman and states that the Plummy Taymont father will probably have removed the children. Lady Lynette does not believe him, but also doesn't do anything with Sophronia's claims of kidnapping. Sister Mattie comes along then and tells them all that Professor Braithwaite is awake and asking for the potentate. Sophronia realises she will have to rescue her friends. Begging a lift back to the school, Sophronia grabs Sid here and Captain Niall comes too. She also hints to Felix that if he wants to help, he'll have to figure something out.
Back at the school, Sister Mattie says she will try to keep the potentate occupied for a time and leaves Sophronia and Sidhe, who immediately dress themselves as preposterous dandies. That's what we should have been dressed up as today. Yeah. They exit through the boiler room, where Soap declares he's coming to help. Captain Niall is waiting for them outside and changes into a werewolf so the rescue team can ride him to the Westminster Hive House. The plan is to go through the front door, pretending to be drones of another vampire who had heard about the kidnapping, while Soap enters through another door, pretending to be a chimney sweep. Amazingly, it works. Lord Akeldama's reputation and penchant for jokes help Lord Dingleproops, wink, and Lord Mersey, wink, enter into the Westminster Hive. As they await an audience with the Queen, Dandy Sophronia and Dandy Sidhe hear a familiar voice from behind the door. It's Monique! And she flirts with the ridiculous dandies, not realizing that they are her classmates.
Monique, man. Monique.
Come on. The footman apologizes for their new drone, who, despite witnessing a failed metamorphosis, is as bad as ever and still wants to stay with the hive. He also mentions how the dead drone was first-rate and such a talented embroiderer. She must have been the Geraldine's girl who had infiltrated the hive and sent all the pillows. Did she ask for metamorphosis, or was she murdered?
Ooh. Intrigue. Finally, they are announced to the Hive Queen, Countess Nadasde. Sitting next to her is Dimity, who was passed out from seeing the bloody metamorphosis, and Pillover, who was drinking tea. As they banter back and forth, Soap comes bursting in, carrying everything one would need to clean the chimneys, shedding soot as he walks. Pointed remarks from Soap warn Sophronia that the Picklemen are on their way, and in their stride, Duke Gulborn, Madame Spatoona in disguise, and carrying Boomba Snoot, and Felix Mersey. So, this is how Felix decided to help. Bring in his dad. Daddy, I need your help.
I need your help. While Soap's clattering around in the background, making a huge mess.
Don't mind me, love.
Skinny as a pickled gherkin, I am.
Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chimney.
Madame Spatoona puts Bumbersnoot on the floor, and chaos ensues. The Countess panics at the Mechanimal's appearance. The Pickleman and Hive begin arguing over access to the ether technology, and Soap continues cleaning the chimney. Dimity, now awake, takes Sophronia's cue and throws herself on the mercy of the Pickleman, pouting about the terrible conditions they've been kept in, which Pillover refutes. It's pandemonium. Dandy Sophronia and Dandy Sidhe offer to take Dimity and Pillover out of the equation so that the Pickleman and Hive can continue their discussion. Meanwhile, Bumbersnoot is being chased by the maids, his tail wagging more and more quickly. Sophronia has a sinking feeling. She knows that the speed of his wagging tail is linked to his imminent expulsion of the explosive device. It's time to leave.
Exit through the hive doors. Sid here grabs Dimity and Pillover, and they're back towards Soap. A footman picks up Bumbersnoot as he spits out the explosive. Soap tackles the footman for Bumbersnoot, Sid here throws all of Soap's coal and equipment up in the air, and Sophronia dives the explosive, throwing it at the Hive Queen when the explosion goes off. Before things settle, the two dandies, Chimney Sweep, captives, and Mechanimal are gone. Outside, Captain Nile bounds over to the group and everyone bundles on the werewolf somehow, and they are away. Viev meets them at the entrance to the school, demanding to know what happened. Taking a moment, Sophronia sits down, rather shaken by the events, especially the smell and feel of Soap's embrace.
Oh.
Sid here presses Sophronia to thank Soap with a kiss, and she does. And it's a proper one. And we swoon.
Monique never returned to the school after her coming out ball, which was declared a resounding success, and rumors of her preference for Westminster vampires circulate. Site and Agatha were taken off probation without explanation. Sophronia learns from her ostracizing that she is reliant on her friends, but whether this is a good thing or not is yet to be seen. Sophronia tries to visit Professor Braithwaite to no avail and feels the press of guilt and realizes she must consider the consequences of her actions. Viev disappears from the school before they reach Dartmoor, and Professor LeFou is remarkably unworried. She soon starts to receive letters from her nephew, Gaspard LeFou, who has been accepted into Bunsen's. Sister Maddie warns that Bunsen's is in bed with the Picklemen, who have won the contract to produce the guidance valves, and that Professor LeFou should be careful with her nephew, or the octopus will have him.
Ooh.
At breakfast, 2 new debuts have joined their table, and letters await Sophronia. The first is from Felix, filled with compliments. The second is from Lord Akeldama, who pays his respects.
You know what? I'm going to go and relive the scene with the chimney sweep and the whole thing,
Yeah.
and everybody else can listen to some of the other podcast promo, because...
Yeah, I think that's fine. I was going to think about Soap's smooches.
Oh, swoon.
Swoon.
Hi, this is Leah Stuhler, creator and host of YA Book Chat podcast. If you love reading young adult books and chatting about them with your friends, then head on over to my podcast and take a listen. Each episode, my guest and I chat about a different YA book. We start spoiler-free and then head into our spoiler section where we dive into the mysteries of each book. And we do it with laughs and fun along the way. You can listen to YA Book Chat on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and wherever you get your podcast. And now, back to the show.
Have you picked yourself up off the floor? Do you need smelling salts?
I might need some smelling salts. Thank you. Oh.
This was such a good one. They're all good. What am I saying?
I know.
But yeah.
I know. I love it. I love it so much. I think I might like the next one. I think the next one might be my favorite. Although the fourth one is also very good, and so is the first, and so is this one. It's
I can't
hard.
help but feel that this
hard
entire
to say.
series just reads as one big story, though.
I mean, it could. It could. They're not super long, so we should just cram them all together and read them all at one time.
But that's what happened in the before times.
I
And
know
this is
it
not-
is,
this is
and
the
we didn't
after
talk about it
times.
in detail. Yeah, this is the after
Where
time.
minute detail and swooning and gasping
Yes.
and winking all take place.
Yes, and
And
eyebrows.
eyebrows. And ear wiggles.
Yes,
All of it takes
yes,
place.
all of it takes place.
Shall we talk about Soap first?
Oh, I love him. I love him so much. I love him. Yes, we should talk about soap. I love that he insists on coming along with them. He's like, hey, I like Dimity too. I want to help her too.
He likes Dimity
And then he's a
too,
chimney
but he
sweep.
also just wants to go for the adventure.
Of course. But you know, he goes under the guise of wanting to help his friend. But he's so good. And then he's a chimney sweep. And he says that he's skinny as a pickled gherkin. And like, nobody's supposed to catch that? Like, come on. So funny.
It's so good.
Skinny as a pickled gherkin, I am.
Hey up, Governor, just take a minute. What a cock of bacon setting's going on here?
So to get in here and claim the chimneys. And they're like, what? Why are you claiming the chimneys? I'm supposed to start with this one right here. And it's like right there by Countess Nadasdy. And he's like shoving stuff up and making a big, huge mess. I love him.
Skinnier than I look, I am. I'll get up there right proper.
I love him. I love him so much.
Yeah, I don't like jealous soap though. Like, not that I say I don't like jealous soap. I don't like that soap has to feel or jealous or is made to feel jealous or just is jealous of Felix. Yeah. Because Felix, right from the get-go, gets my back up. Because he's like, no, Rhea, my dove, Rhea, my dove. And she's like, yeah, don't call me that. And she tells him 2 or 3 times. He just blatantly ignores her. And it's like, stop being over familiar. Yeah. This is inappropriate. It's inappropriate, but also respect.
Yeah, all that scene where they're in the classroom and they're learning, you know, about how to talk to vampires and what they need to do, whatever. And Sophronia and Felix are meant to be having a conversation as a lady and a hive vampire. And she's like, Lady Lynette, he is not doing this right. Like, he is making me uncomfortable, essentially. She's like, well, what are you going to do about it? And so she has to, like, figure out a way to put him down, to get him to stop. And then Dimity's like, oh, you're flirting. You're flirting with him. And she's like, no, I'm not. And she's like, oh, but I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about soap.
And we all laugh.
I'm like, yeah, you are. But she's also flirting with Felix, too, and that comes up again. You know, Dimity likes the way that Sophronia flirts with Felix, because essentially she's just calling him a jerk, and he likes it. He likes,
it is the ultimate
playing hard to get.
Treat them mean to keep them keen. It says a lot about Felix, how he keeps coming back to Sophronia for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he just... It helps that it's not the first time we've read these books. Or the second, or the third, or the fourth. But you kind of... because you know how it ends, you can see all the triggers. And you can see how Felix just doesn't have a look in.
Yeah.
From the outset, even from book 1, where he's this mysterious dark figure. Brooding Piston comes and dances with Sophronia. And then she runs off at mid-dance. That should tell you a lot. And then she does it again here. That should tell you a lot. That she's running off and she's not even going, something's afoot, come with me.
Yeah. She just leaves. She just nopes right out of there.
Exactly. But when Soap says, I'm coming with you, breaking into the records room, going to rescue Dimity and Pillover, no question.
And what he does in the next book.
No question. It's yes, you're coming, that's fine.
Yeah.
So those actions should tell people a lot. And it's delightful in every way, shape and form.
Yes. Soap is amazing.
He's just so freaking sweet.
He is.
And I can understand how Sophronia wants to get him out of the boiler room and she'll make an intelligence out of him somehow. But I think he also understands, like, where he is in class structure in Victorian England.
Yeah.
You know, and it's going to be difficult for him to rise above the boiler room.
But we have to wait till next book to talk more about that.
And that's why I've stopped talking.
Okay. So I really, really enjoyed the Odd Job Machine and the test that they had to take. I thought it was really fun and creative.
Quirky
And
as anything.
wow. Yes. And just wow at Sophronia, who, after the test is complete and, she gets her scores and they're better than everyone else's. And then I believe it's Viev who asks her, like, you didn't do as well as you could do, did you? And she was like, no. I thought that was really impressive. And the fact that after she got out and Dimity was there waiting on her, and she's like, oh, but did you do this? Because, I think that if you did it, then it's probably okay that I did it too. And she's like, oh, yeah, but I didn't do very well on all of it, and I had troubles. And she was definitely just lying to keep, her friendship up.
Well,
to make Dimity not feel so bad about not being as great as she is.
but that's what happens when you come out of an examination with your friends. You start comparing answers.
Right.
And you might know you've passed, but you are going to downplay it I assume you would downplay it, so your friends don't feel quite so concerned about it, because the test's done. There's nothing they can do about it now.
Yeah.
And what you can do, knowing that you have passed, or, just because of what Lady Lynette said, that, the results are promising, that to me means you've passed, you're safe, you're secure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than what grade you've got necessarily. It kind of like, it's your duty as a friend, not a fellow student, but as a friend, to assuage the worries of the others, because it's going to be stressful. And it's, Dimity might not want to be there because she doesn't want to be an intelligencer. She wants to be a lady who does charitable works and has a brood of children and stays at home, and she doesn't want that life. But
Right.
Agatha desperately wants to stay there because of fears with her father, and Sid here is just going through the motions.
Right. Side doesn't want to be there at all because she wants to go and become a werewolf.
No, but I think it's also Sid here does realise that she has to be there for a period of time, because otherwise she's going to get sent somewhere. Like, her grandfather's going to send her somewhere worse.
Yeah.
She needs to ladify a little bit. Ladification.
Yeah. But it's very, telling of Sophronia's personality that this is how she's treating her friends, because they are her friends and she loves them.
Definitely.
And then to immediately get shunned, she's like, oh, fuck. Damn it.
That was harsh.
God.
But she worked out very quickly, because, she is made for the business. The game is hers to play. That they're doing it on purpose. But she doesn't push that.
No.
I think
No.
if she pushed it just slightly, she could get Agatha, Dimity and Sid here to start talking to her again quite easily.
Yeah.
But she knows that's their instructions.
Yeah, she does. And then she, again, doesn't want them to fail and in their studies, and that's part of what they have to do for their training. So
Exactly.
she just takes it. And then she goes and hangs out with Viev and Soap in the boiler room.
It's still a long period of time to be by yourself. Like, she could only hang out with them at night time once everything's done.
Yeah. But she, learns lessons from it too. That her strength comes from her friends, but then we have to decide, well, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's just a thing, honestly. Because if you examine the way that Sophronia operates, she gathers the intelligence fairly independently. Like, just if we think about the final scene, she knows that Pillover and Dimity are in danger. She notices as soon as they get kidnapped that they're gone.
Yeah.
She follows them, finds out where they are, assesses the situation, and goes, I cannot deal with this by myself. I need reinforcements. So she knows what the limits to go to before she needs to call in assistance. And that, in this case, yes, it is going to be her friends, because there's nobody else who she can call on. I mean, look at Lady Lynette dismissing her, which I'll come back to.
Right.
But when she's, you know, a grown adult intelligentsia, lady of quality, she'll have a network. She'll have other people to be able to call on, and whoever her patron ends up to be, they'll have other agents she can utilise. But for now, she's got her friends. And I don't see that as a weakness.
No.
Coming back to Lady Lynette, did Lady Lynette dismiss her on purpose?
I think she did. I think she knew something was afoot. And I think that she probably would have come in and helped if Sophronia didn't immediately leave and get stuff going. I think that she would have come to the rescue. She wouldn't have let Dimity and Pillover get kidnapped.
I mean, it's a frustrating scene to read because quite clearly Pillover and Dimity aren't there. And as a teacher, you are responsible for these young ladies under your care. And she doesn't even go to check to see where their whereabouts are. Fine, she protests when the potentate says that it's the potentate, Lord Ambrose says that the Plumney parents are under Pickleman contract.
Yeah.
And that they'll have come and withdrawn them from the school, which is like, no way. That's not going to happen because half the time they forget that they're even in the school. So they're not going to suddenly remember that there's a ball to come and steal them away from.
Right.
But then she also very quickly goes off to dance with the potentate, or, you know, goes off with the potentate. And then the potentate spends the entire journey back to the dirigible, once Professor Braithwaite's woken up, berating poor Sophronia. The best scoring debut. If she's scoring so high as a debut, what the hell is she going to be like when it comes to finishing?
Yeah.
You want to be nice to this person because they could bring you down. And she's 14.
Oh, she's older than 14.
14, 15. It's not that much longer. That's still in the first year. They've only been there for 6 months.
Yeah. I think she's 15 now.
Okay. But still.
Because she mentions
she's still
Monique.
only 15.
Right. She mentions Monique being 3 years older. And then they make fun of Monique for having her coming out ball at 18. So old.
Gosh, she's a
it's
spinster.
so... Yeah.
So on the shelf.
I really liked when she did that, though. When Monique was being rude to Dimity. And she's like, I don't care that Dimity is not talking to me. That is not okay. And she just immediately puts Monique down and makes fun of her for having her coming out ball so late and whatever else she said. It was really great.
She just totally burned her. It was amazing.
She did. She really did. And then, you know, Dimity is like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. Can't shun her anymore. Not gonna do it.
I'm glad Dimity stood up.
I know. Me too.
Agatha was interesting, this one.
Yeah.
I have questions.
What questions do you have about Agatha? And are they real questions about Agatha, or are they you already know what's going to happen with Agatha and her life and you're fake asking questions about Agatha?
Possibly a little bit of both, because we have talked about Agatha's... We've covered Agatha's story.
Right.
It still
and
pleases me
story.
and devastates
and
me.
Precious story.
Agatha's story. But the way that I'm trying to read these without necessarily knowing what's going to happen. Like, the first time I read it, fresh. It's difficult, granted, because they are, like, you know, reread quite often, and Dimity's book story has been done very recently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so it is kind of tied into that. But kind of knowing Agatha's future. What I find weird with Agatha, which is less of a question, more of a statement, the mention that she doesn't want to go home because of her father, that she, you know, her father's paying for her to be here, etc., etc. When Spoilers if you've not read Dimity's story. Go back. I can't remember Agatha's story. I'll insist on calling her Dimity. Which one was Agatha's?
Well, it's got A's.
Ambush or a door.
Yes.
So go back and watch us, read us, listen to us, it, and the podcast. Words fail. Anywho.
Those were words. A big pile of them.
I will admit to being very tired right now. So in Agatha's story, we find out that she is already got a patron as she enters school.
Yes. Although, don't we find that out at the end of?
We do find out in the at book 4, and I'm not saying who the patron is purposefully.
Right. Let's not say that.
I'm trying to be obtuse as possible, but still trying to ask my questions. But all the way through so far, we know that Dimity said it again. Agatha doesn't want to be withdrawn from the school. She doesn't want to lose her place at the school because she doesn't want to go home because of her father. We don't really find anything out about her father, but we know that she's already got mad intelligence and skills. Okay?
Yes.
So, did she purposefully not pass the review? And if so, how much did she not pass? Did she kind of know, if I get
I'm sure
certain X mark, then I'm going to get put on a 6-month probation, which I'll get through fine. It's just... I'm
sure she
finding
did.
It very difficult to reconcile the Agatha we know and the Agatha we know is here to the Agatha that is being depicted. And it's not a criticism. It's like, I can't believe that's the same Agatha at this point.
I'm sure that either she's failed on purpose, or maybe they know. Maybe the teachers know and are going along with it.
That's a good point, actually. That is a good point.
You know, they can use her as an example of like what not to do. You know, because in the last book she got so upset because she never had her handkerchief or whatever, and then Sede tied hers on in the wrong time with her flat bosoms, like. But then everyone's like, oh Agatha, that's not what you're supposed to do. So it's like a teaching moment for everyone else. It just feels like they're in on it.
Yeah, I never considered that the teachers were in on it as well, which is, given who's sponsoring her, would make a lot of sense. But that just goes to show as well how good she is.
Yeah.
At fooling everyone. And what do you think the fortune teller whispered?
Maybe she had a secret missive from her patron.
Ah, another good thought. I was wondering if it was about... Because everything else that Madame Spatoona said, not that I'm saying she was an actual fortune teller, but was fairly spot on. Mm-hmm. I was wondering if she was going to whisper something about travel, because we know one thing about Agatha is that she does want to... She doesn't want to go home.
Travel.
She wants to travel.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like they're all in on it.
Yeah. Now that you've said it that way, it actually makes a lot more sense. Like, I can reconcile the pool marks and the certain amount of forgiveness.
Because if she really is as bad as she's pretending to be, like, there's no way they would have kept her at the school.
No.
There's no way.
I think you're onto something there. Speaking of the Madame Spatoona, that scene, I really enjoyed the fortune telling scene. I like the seeds of knowing what happens, like calling Precious Spider. We know she becomes the Black Widow.
Yes, and then Mademoiselle Geraldine is like, oh, I hope that you marry multiple times because of widowhood, not because of
Never.
We're all like secretly going, yeah. Because we know, I mean, and she's already declared it, that she wants to poison her first husband, but we know that that's what she does.
It's delightful in every way, shape or form.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed the bits like, Sid here, why are you here? You know your fate.
Yeah.
Does she fully know her fate? Oh.
It's hard to say. I want to talk to you about Professor Braithwaite.
Now, clarification. Professor Braithwaite or Professor Braithwaite's moustache? They're two very separate entities.
They are. And I do love Professor Braithwaite's mustache, but I'm actually, like, I want to get serious here for a second, which is odd.
Hold on,
but
serious face.
I know. But how do you feel about what happened with Professor Braithwaite because of Sophronia trying to discredit Professor Shrimpdiddle? And, like, because she feels so much guilt over his fall because of what she believes Professor Shrimpdiddle did to his suit, which then we learn after the fact from Viev that, like, no, he kind of went bonkers as soon as he got to the ether, so it wasn't necessarily your fault. It wasn't your fault. And it also, she says, it wasn't her fault because, like, you can't control what other people do. But, like, how do you feel about that?
I'm extremely torn. Extremely torn. You kind of have to examine the component parts. She was helping a friend, which is commendable.
Yes.
But did Professor Shrimpdiddle deserve to be discredited? Was he? Pillover liked him. You know, he said he's one of the I mean, well, liked him. He told like as much as he likes anybody.
Yeah, he's one of the better ones.
He's one of the better ones. So he's obviously one of the ones that isn't, bullying Pillover.
Yeah.
The way she did it was very clever.
Oh, it was.
It was really smart. She came at different, points of attack. She was a very clever girl. She did it for gadgets and for friendship.
Yeah.
I can commend the friendship, but not necessarily the gadgets.
No.
And she did ultimately drive him to tampering Professor Braithwaite's suit. And yes, we know that wasn't the cause of his madness. It was the ether. But in the thick of things, when Professor Braithwaite's on the ground, crazed and bloodthirsty, and we don't know if he's going to ever be fine again. It's very fatalistic. When the line that was said, and I copied it directly, was that she will never know if he fell or jumped on purpose. So from that line, we know she never speaks to Professor Braithwaite again. And that line was taken directly from the book. So she's never going to know. She's never going to get the forgiveness from Professor Braithwaite for her part that was played.
No.
But at the point of everything that's going on, Shrimpdiddle is convinced that he's the one who tampered and therefore was probably the one that caused him to tip over, and was quite happy with that.
Right.
He felt his hand was tipped. But you've also driven somebody to do that. That's not good.
Yeah. What did he do to the suit? Did he mess with the valve? Because then, Sophronia jumps down from where she is, watching him up in the ether, and she sees him fall and is able to climb down the ship and into the boiler room to talk to Soap, to talk to the head sooty or whatever, or head greaser or whoever's down there. She talks to that guy who's like, look, I can't do anything until I get notice from the pilot's bubble. And then he gets that. Like, how fast did she get down there?
Oh, she went very fast, but if you think about the length of the school dirigible is freaking huge.
Right.
So even if she is the fastest she's ever scrambled across that ship, I would say there's at least 5 minutes between getting from the top to the boiler room, getting directions from Soap on who to talk to, and speaking to the person for the notice to come down from the pilot's bubble, and then for them to deflate the middle balloon and do the necessary discharge, and then float down.
Right.
There's at least 5 minutes. Braithwaite's on the ground. He is skull splat, because it doesn't take that long to fall.
No, it doesn't. But I wonder, like, was it the valve that Shrimp Diddle messed with, because then it wouldn't have, like, clicked over and told the other valve what it was supposed to know, like that he's fallen or that whatever has happened has happened.
It was the valve, as far as I'm aware, but also it's made that the valve isn't automated. He was
supposed to flip it himself.
That's what VF basically says, is that he went over and was driven crazy because of the ether, and he never got the opportunity to use the valve.
Yeah.
So ultimately, like, she isn't she's
not responsible. She's really not
responsible, but she has to bear some responsibility.
Yeah. I think more, I know that she feels really guilty about Professor Braithwaite getting hurt, where she should feel guilty about Professor Shrimpdiddle being completely discredited, because we learn, that Professor Braithwaite fell because of the ether.
Yes.
And that's nobody's fault. Like, we just know that vampires cannot travel through the ether. So I like that Viev says that, and she's like, science!
Yeah.
We learned something!
Tests don't always go according to plan, and sometimes people explode.
Yeah.
But yeah, she, at the end of the day, she's learnt that actions have consequences.
Right.
And maybe she should think about it a little bit more, because Shrimpdiddle's going to get done for attempted murder. And he seemed okay, one of the lesser.
Yeah.
Professor Braithwaite is never going to recover, as far as we know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's not down to the suit. But yeah, I think she should feel a little bit guilty, because I think that guilt is going to help her be a better intelligencer, and she's going to carry that with her, and it's going to be something that she's going to learn from. It is one of the biggest lessons. More than eyelash fluttering and raising eyebrows, is learning that actions have consequences.
Yeah. And
that there is a difference between being responsible and responsibility.
Yes.
But I love Professor Braithwaite.
I know, me too. And his mustache was so sad when he
always, Kenneth Branagh's Hercule Poirot moustache.
Yes.
That's the tash.
Yes.
It twitched. He followed along after it. And he was a vampire qualité. So, yeah. I almost feel like, because we've had the introduction of Lord Akeldama now, I almost feel like Professor Braithwaite had to be pushed over the rail to make room for another vampire.
Did, because
there's only room for one rove.
Yes, and Lord Akeldama is so huge. His personality is enormous, and now he can be the only one.
Yeah. I freaking love that you can just dress up as a ridiculous dandy, turn up to a hive house and say, "Oh, you know, he's a bit of a jokester," and like, "Oh, Lord Air, is it?"
And they're like,
Get
"Oh,
in.
yeah.
It's him. He's at
All
it
right.
again."
Fine.
Ugh,
Okay.
my little honeydew.
My little dewdrop. I love him. I love him so much.
I always wonder as well why the audiobook narrator, so I think it's Moira Quirk who does this one, why he has a lisp.
Because of his fangs, of course.
He's had the fangs for several...
And because he's the world's gayest vampire.
Gay does not
So
mean
we have
lisp,
to
does
give
it?
him the gayest voice.
Has to have some kind
It's
of...
very stereotypical.
application.
It's very stereotypical gay.
Yes, but I will admit to not knowing any...
Moira Quirk is perfect.
Oh, she's completely perfect. I just don't understand the choice of the lisp because it's not in the books. Are you telling me it's a homosexual lisp? Because that sounds weird.
I'm saying that that's a stereotype for homosexuals, unfortunately.
Not in the UK. Can we give credit as well to Bumper Snoot, please?
Of course.
Because
of course.
not only does he go underneath Monique's skirts and blow steam and poop ash on her shoes, he whistles, which who knew he could whistle, when Dimity
Right.
is going to be in trouble.
Uh-huh.
And then he causes absolute chaos at the hive house.
Yes.
And it sounds like he was a very good dog when he was with
Yes.
Madame Spatoona for that short period of time.
Yes. Yes.
Bum Snoot, MVP. With soap.
I was about to say,
Soap.
we also have to mention Soap because he's wonderful in every way.
Yes. Yes.
He's beautiful. He's strong. He's protective.
And he smells nice.
He smells nice. He's got a dazzling smile. And he treats Sophronia so well.
He respects her. He listens
He
to
does.
her. And he knows that she is perfectly capable of being her.
Yeah.
Respect is so attractive.
It really is. So good. Were you surprised by anything? No, because we've read this book 1,000 times?
It is difficult to be surprised by something when you've read it 1,000 times. Probably Monique's narcissism and self-absorption is so great she doesn't freaking realise when Sophronia and Sid here are standing in front of her in terrible, ridiculous dandy costumes.
Yeah. She does not pay attention to anything at all other than herself. If the roles were reversed and it were Sophronia encountering Monique and Prussia
Yeah.
somewhere hidden as dandies, she would know exactly who they were just based on like their mannerisms. And I mean, hell, she's wearing Prussia's jacket, and Prussia and Monique share a room, so you know that Monique has seen that jacket before.
Yes.
And she doesn't
Monique is the
notice.
type of person that the only thing that's going to draw her eye
Is a mirror?
Is a mirror.
Yeah.
Just tells it as I sees it.
Yeah. She's not good. I'm glad that they recommended that she not get a chance to finish again.
God, it's
They're like,
so
you know what?
sweet.
You're done. Just get out.
Sometimes you've just got to
failed.
cut the chaff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, just get out. You're terrible. You're done.
I'm actually kind of, I know last time in book one, we're like, I wonder if, Monique's ever going to get her own story. I don't actually want Monique's story anywhere past these four. Because...
I mean, she's probably not living an intelligence or life.
No. But also, she doesn't deserve any more recognition. She doesn't deserve any more recognition. She doesn't deserve to be the front and centre. She also doesn't deserve or need redemption.
Mm-mm.
I think...
Yeah, just give me a soap story instead.
Oh, God, yes.
Give me Bumbersnoot's story.
Yes. I want the escapades of Bumbersnoot and Spoo.
Yes.
But
Spoo's not in this one.
No, Spoo might be at the end of it all. But I need to know how Bumbersnoot gets from Mademoiselle Geraldine's Phoenician Academy for Ladies of Quality onto the spotted custard.
Yeah.
I need that story.
It's very important. We need to know.
Yes. The many adventures of Bumbersnoot.
Yes. We need to know the many adventures of Bumbersnoot. It's important.
Yes. Okay. And on that note...
All right.
Pew, 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 pew. We asked on social media, would you rather be taught how to fight by a werewolf or be taught etiquette by a vampire? On Facebook, 66% said werewolf. On Instagram, 74% said werewolf. On Twitter, 51% said vampire etiquette. And on TikTok, it was 100% werewolf.
Wow.
I am actually very surprised by these results.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's my vampire bias.
Yeah, it is.
Probably. I will hold my hands up to that.
Yeah.
I'll wiggle my eyebrows. But I thought, I don't know, I thought there might be a bit closer. Like the Twitter one, I feel like I can understand. And we had quite a few votes on that one, so...
Yes, we did.
Yeah, interesting.
We didn't have very many votes on TikTok this time. I don't know what I've done to displease the TikTok deities.
Bloody TikTok.
But we didn't... TikTok. We didn't get many votes on TikTok this time.
I wish I liked TikTok. I do not. I'm going to read comments because our listeners are wonderful. Yes. Annie on Facebook said, whilst I'm usually on the always vampire side, very well done, I think I have a pretty good knowledge of etiquette, and what I don't, I can fake with common sense. But I definitely want to be a bad-ass warrior against evil with a bladed fan.
Ooh, yeah. Bree on Facebook says, I am learning to kill someone with a fan from a werewolf. If I do good enough, you think he'll let me ride him in wolf form? But I am a hopeless American with etiquette. The vampire would get fed up and eat me before I learned anything.
I don't think the werewolf cares about the vampire would, care.
No.
Just gonna eat you. Colin on Facebook said, I'd probably piss off the vampire by booping them on the nose, whereas if I booped the werewolf, I'd get extra credit and the chance to give tummy scratches. Or my arm chewed off. Maybe I haven't thought about this properly. If it was Captain Nine, I think he'd probably quite like a tummy scratch.
He probably would. Vincent on Facebook says, etiquette from a vampire. They've had centuries to perfect it, so it's gonna be good.
Would they know which fork and knife to use? They haven't eaten for a while.
But they'll have watched others eat.
That's true. Rebecca's Studio Freelance edit on Instagram said, fight by a werewolf.
L20 Kev on Instagram says etiquette by a vampire because I am obsessed with Fight Club and have always wondered about something. When Tyler Durden is on an airplane, he goes to the bathroom and he needs to pass the air hostesses. He asks Jack, here's a question of etiquette. As I pass, do I give the ass or the crotch? He ended up giving the crotch, but I'd like to ask a vampire who knows their stuff if he was right or if he should have given her the ass. These are important things. These are important questions to ask.
This is something we all need to know.
We do need to know.
I know air stewards. I could ask.
Yeah. You should ask if crotch or ass.
I'll ask them to do a survey.
Okay, very good.
Did they send?
I'm a little bit.
Did they send us anything?
They didn't.
No,
They didn't. I'm a little bit upset. I'm a little bit upset by this next one because it's Constance. And Constance has fallen back into her old ways of sending us song lyrics. But we had promises.
Yeah.
We had promises that they were going to sing to us.
Constance and Bree.
Constance
Two
and Bree
people.
were supposed to sing this to us so that we could share it with you listeners.
There was a guarantee in there. There was a guarantee.
There was.
Does this mean we have to do it?
I guess.
Please,
Which part do you want to do?
whichever. I would like to point out though, Constance has used this one before, so I call shenanigans on the actual comment itself, but it is relevant.
But she's also added to it.
Yeah, well, tenuous. This is not the recommendation section. Would you like to take the lead?
We
Would
must
you-
be swift as the coursing river,
Be a wild woman.
with all the force of a great typhoon,
Be a wild woman.
with all the strength of a raging fire, mysterious as the dark side of the moon.
Bree, Constance, you horse.
I think they did it to us on purpose. I'm not gonna lie.
Bonds of friendship.
It's amazing what we do for them.
Where are the picklemen when you need them? Or the Westminster Hive. Anywho,
Let's
moving
move on.
Library.
Yes, we got some good library quotes this time. I think my favorite one was, if used properly, one can slay people with etiquette. Hashtag Team Vamp.
I did enjoy that one.
That was a good one.
One of mine that I particularly liked was, I'm a lover, not a fighter. So vampire etiquette it is.
I'm curious as to who said, fight! At this point in my life, I am over etiquette. And then they wrote to the side, burps in public.
Well, this is when you need to, watch people and see who burps in public so loudly.
I have a good idea of who it is. There's two people that it could be.
Oh. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to pay attention. So what are you going to do? Vampire.
Well, yes.
Why do we
because-
even ask these questions anymore?
I know. I mean, I had for a nanosecond thought, well, werewolves
No.
will provide very good fighting skills.
No.
But then I'm thinking,
Stop it.
actually, vampire fangs. Vampires, like the person at the library who's like, etiquette could slay.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to slay you with a burn. A verbal burn.
Yeah.
So much that even 3 generations down the line, they're still going, ooh.
Oh. Yeah.
I want to give someone the cut direct. It'll
Anyway,
present itself.
one day.
Anyway, next question.
One day it will.
Next question.
Would you rather have your fortune told by palm reading or tarot cards?
Tarot cards. I find tarot cards very interesting. I don't know how to read tarot. I have several sets. I can literally reach one right now. And I do have them more for the artwork
Sure.
than what's behind the tarot.
Mm-hmm.
But very interesting, and I would rather tarot. I've got an interesting story about tarot, but not for recording.
I think that I would rather choose palm reading, because I feel like with tarot, you are like, you know what the cards mean. If you are one who reads tarot cards, you know what they mean, so you can bend a story around the significance of the cards. But with palm reading, you know what the lines are supposed to mean and whatever, but I feel like it's not quite as obvious. And I think you would get a more interesting story from palm reading. A more creative story.
It depends on the teller. Because if they're just looking at them, like palm or tarot, just looking and go, well, you are going to live a long life and you are going to... Then it's kind of like, well, I can literally hear the instruction manual.
Right.
But if it's somebody who can, like Madame Spatuna, actually say even just one thing. Yeah. Oh, hang on. That actually has a lot of truth in it. Then yeah, I think that's really good. As long as they've got to be good at cold reading, really.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I like that after this encounter with Madame Spatuna, which Sophronia immediately knows, oh, she's an intelligencer. She's already done this. She's one of Geraldine's girls. I like that she's like, maybe I should look into fortune telling a little bit, just in case.
I love, side note, the fact that they call everybody Geraldine's girls already, but Mademoiselle Geraldine is oblivious.
Yes. I like that too.
Next question. Would you rather flirt... I don't even know why I'm asking this question.
I don't either.
Would you rather flirt
I don't
with
even
Soap,
know what it is.
Lord Dinglepoops, or Felix? And why are you flirting with Soap?
Oh, definitely Soap. 100% Soap. There's no question.
Because he looks good. He smells good. He has respect for you.
Yes. And because he's strong.
He has a nice smile.
Yeah. He's probably got a nice butt, too.
Well, I mean, considering how much he works out,
Yeah.
shoveling coal all day, every day, that boy's going to be, having some serious muscles.
Yeah.
Also, can I point out that Soap is of legal age because he is a few years older than Sophronia.
Yes. That's important.
They're just getting in there because of, otherwise it's a bit...
Why'd you have to bring us down like that?
I'm sorry. Just think about Soap smell and arms. Soft kisses on that little exposed part above you.
That's a good spot to get a kiss, too. I'm not going to go
It'll
back.
linger.
It will. I'm not going to go back to what we learned from Sookie last week. If you know, you know. If you listened to last week's episode, you know the quote to which I am referring.
And if you don't, go back and listen. It's worth it.
Go back and listen. Would you rather have Viev's sputter skates, the obstructor, or the hurley?
As fun as the sputter skates would be, they don't work properly. I'm going to go with the obstructor because I want to sneak about that ship. I do not want to sneak about that ship on the outside because that sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
You're exposed to the open air. You've got to have a lot of upper body strength. So I'm going with obstructor. I'm sneaky.
I wish that I were strong enough to use the hurley. I would choose the hurley. I wish that I were strong enough and brave enough to make that choice.
Same, but I'm being realistic.
If I'm being realistic, I'm picking the sputter skates. But I would like to have the ability to use the hurley.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Last question. Would you rather get top marks in your review but be ostracised by your friends, or discredit a teacher and lose your friend to another school?
I think I'm going to go discredit a teacher and lose my friend to another school, because I'm, of course, thinking of the well-being of my friends. And you know how much I love Viev, and we
Yes.
all want Viev to be successful in life. And she really needs to go to Bunsen's and learn how to become an evil genius. So I'm going to do what it takes to get Viev where she needs to go.
No, I agree.
With her
I
mustache.
agree with most of it, but I disagree, or beg to differ on one point.
What?
Learn to be an evil genius.
Yeah,
That girl
okay.
is well on her
Yeah,
way.
she is.
It's refine her evil genius.
It's true. You're right. You're right. I just wish that, I mean, I know that we see Viev in future stories, but I wouldn't mind reading about Viev's time at Bunsen's.
Yes. I would like that, because Pillover will be in as well, and I do like Pillover.
We do like Pillover. And Felix.
Oh, bless him.
And Dingleproops.
Yes.
It would be interesting.
It would be interesting. It would. It would be very interesting. It would be nice to have that alternate perspective.
Yes.
You could even cover the same time. It's going to be over the same time period that you would have the interaction from Sophronia, Dimity, and Sid here as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also just want to see her employ the mustache.
I just got this image of one day she just walks in and just mustache on her face.
She just has a giant mustache on, and everyone's like,
it takes about, months at our age to grow those things, yeah? And some people just don't.
yeah. Sorry, I know that our next moment is favorite final thought quote, and that thought just made me remember another quote that I wanted to mention, and I forgot to write it down. So I am going to investigate that for just a moment. Okay, I got it now. So, favorite final thought quote?
Sit down, because I was doing something. Behind the curtain. There are many. Okay. Okay, so you remember the scene when Sophronia needs to quickly follow Monique, so she goes and borrows Satyr's boys' clothes?
Yes.
It's one of the greatest scenes in the entire book, and I'm really sorry we didn't mention it earlier, but Agatha and Sophronia find out that Satyr has seen men naked.
Oh, that's such a good scene.
Yeah. And Sidhere's like, well, duh, it's a pack. I live with literal werewolves. What do you think happens when they change? They get naked. Of course I've seen men naked. So obviously, Sophronia and Agatha are curious.
Yes.
No, what's a man like down there? Oh, Sidhere wrinkled her nose. Unimpressive. They have, she gestured towards her own nether regions with one hand, a sort of dangly sausage. Lacks tailoring. Really? Yes. Like it wasn't fitted into its casing properly. And hairy.
Ooh.
Agatha's like, I don't believe you. Oh, you'll find it, Agatha, don't worry.
Oh, you will. Oh, that's a good one.
One of my favourite scenes, and I totally forgot to mention that it was, one of my other favourite scenes that we have talked about was in the Westminster Hive with the ridiculous dandies. And it's specifically the bit where Dimity throws herself at the Pickleman, and she actually starts listing off all the mistreatment claims, and it's the mistreatment claims that I just adored. So the quote is, She claimed all manner of mistreatment at the hands of the Countess. The tea was lukewarm, the biscuits stale, the seat cushion lumpy, and a girl had been bitten to death right in front of her. She demanded to be rescued instantly and rounded out her complaints with a plaintive explanation that she was missing a ball.
My favorite is that she's like, the tea, the biscuits, the cushion. And then she's like, and then someone was murdered right in front of me. That's the last one.
She has priorities, and I can't help but agree with them.
Oh, yeah,
You
and
serve me
also
lukewarm tea,
the
and I will
murder.
give you 1 star on Yelp.
Also, the murder.
But the ball! I'm missing a ball! Oh, Dimity, never change. And the last quote I'm going to give you is a Sister Matty special. Death, felt Sister Matty, must come to everyone in the end. Sometimes it simply required a little help.
Oh, Sister Matty.
What have you got?
All right. The one that I just had to go searching for is when Sophronia and Viev are talking about what Viev is going to do when she's at Bunsen's. Because obviously,
Yeah.
you know, she's a little kid right now, but, like, Sophronia gestures, like, at her bosom area. And Viev says, I come from a long line of bonny women, so I shouldn't think that will be a problem. And I managed to fool even you until you were told. But I love that she's like, yeah, I'm not going to have boobs. I come from a long line of, you know, bosomless women. And I like that. I like that mostly because I am also basically bosomless.
With a fake moustache.
With a fake mustache.
Oh my god, you Viev.
And I rather enjoy hats.
Can you be bribed with a hat?
I could be bribed with a hat, 100%.
Do you often create evil? Yes, you do create evil. You're Viev.
I am.
Whoa.
Except for the
Frenchness.
Frenchness and what comes later.
That
in
could
Viev's
be
life.
a quirk. You could suddenly start affecting a French accent.
I could.
Do it and see how long it takes people to notice.
Okay, I will.
You shall be exceedingly French.
French.
Do you have more quotes?
I do.
Or are you sticking with that one?
Nope, I do have more. I have more. All the best geniuses are evil.
It's true.
Which is true. Footwear, after all, was a serious commitment. And then, seriously, the actions of others are not your fault. Serious one. If you liked this, try this.
I am going to recommend Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerry Maniscalco. I've listened to it. Wasn't too bad. Quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the summary is from kerrymaniscalco.com. 17-year-old Audrey Rose Wadsworth was born a lord's daughter, with a life of wealth and privilege stretched out before her. But between social teas and silk dress fittings, she leads a forbidden secret life. Against her stern father's wishes and society's expectations, Audrey often slips away to her uncle's laboratory to study the gruesome practice of forensic medicine. When her work on a string of savagely killed corpses drags Audrey into an investigation of a serial murderer, her search for answers brings her close to her own sheltered world. It's good. It is good. It's not as funny as Ms. Gail, but it does have it does have some soap element to it. She is a little bit of a Sophronia Viev kind of character, and that, she has that crossover, but never goes to the extreme of either of them.
Oh.
Because you can't in one person. But they are very enjoyable, lighter reads.
Okay.
And I would recommend the audiobooks.
All right.
What have you got?
I found this one from a book riot list about spies. This one is called A Spy in the House by Y.S. Lee. In Victorian London, Mary Quinn, an orphan and thief, was rescued from a death sentence and sent to Miss Scrimshaw's Academy for Girls, a secret school that is a cover for the all-female investigative unit, the Agency. After her training is complete, Mary is sent out into the streets of London to uncover clues about a series of missing cargo ships. Mary disguises herself as a lady's maid and sneaks into some of London's grandest houses, only to find secrets about not only the missing ships, but her own past as well. Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dum, dum, dum. Do we have it in the spotlight?
We do. It is #tenuouslink.
Love it.
Yeah. This one is not out yet. It's coming out soon. It's called Daisy Woodworm Changes the World. It's by Melissa Hart, and it's more middle grade than YA, which is okay.
Oh, definitely.
13-year-old Daisy Woodward loves insects, running track and hanging out with her older brother, Sorrel, who has Down syndrome. And here's the #tenuouslink. And adores men's fashion. When her school social studies teacher assigns each student a project to change the world for the better, along with an oral report, Daisy fears the class bully, who calls her Woodworm, will make fun of her lisp. Hey, there's another #tenuouslink.
School bullying.
No, the lisp!
Oh, the lisp. But also school bullying.
Also school bullying. Still, she decides to help Sorrel fulfill his dream of becoming a YouTube fashion celebrity, despite their parents' refusal to allow him on social media. With the help of her best friend Poppy and Miguel, the most popular boy in school and her former enemy, Daisy launches Sorrel's publicity campaign. But catastrophe strikes when her parents discover him online, along with hateful comments from a cyberbully. That's not okay.
No.
If Daisy has any hope of changing the world, she'll have to regain her family's trust and face her fears of public speaking to find her own unique and powerful voice.
Ooh.
It sounds, pretty precious.
Sounds like there's going to be a lot of heavy moments too.
It does. It does. All right. So that's it for this episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
I am Claire of Quality.
Oh, excuse me. Professor Amanda of Quality.
I am Lady Claire of Quality. Quality.
Don't worry, everyone. There's only 2 more weeks that we're going to be doing this.
But the French accent will never go. We love it here. Read my eyebrows. They tell you everything.
Join us next time as we discuss In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lukens. Look out for our Would You Rather polls on social media. Don't forget about our book club and monthly challenges on Facebook. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover-themed merchandise, and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.
That was excellent. That was a quality podcast.
Top quality.
Top quality.